welcome to FM Talks. Let's actually set the scene for a moment
Oh, please do.
because I know you have experienced this exact visceral feeling. It is 12:30 p.m. on a random Tuesday.
The absolute danger zone of the day.
Exactly. Your morning has been just an absolute whirlwind. You've had back-to-back video calls, you've been triaging urgent emails, and you've been putting out fires that, frankly, weren't even yours to begin with.
Right, the classic Tuesday.
Right. And you finally get a break in your calendar. The house or the office gets suddenly quiet, and then your stomach growls.
Loudly.
Oh, so loud. Like loud enough that if you were off mute, the entire conference call would have heard it. You look down at your desk, just hoping past you left something brilliant, and what do you actually see?
Nothing good.
An empty stained coffee mug and a crinkled granola bar wrapper from 3 hours ago. And this complete, utter panic sets in because you know you are staring down the barrel of the two classic, equally terrible midday options.
They are universally terrible.
Option one is what we affectionately, or I guess tragically, call the sad desk lunch.
Oh, I know the sad desk lunch all too well.
We all do. It's that vaguely depressing sandwich you threw together at 7 a.m. while you were rushing out the door. The bread has morphed into like a wet sponge under a slice of tomato.
Or it's the plastic tub of graying chicken and congealed rice.
Yes. The congealed rice, it looked completely fine when you packed it last night, but under those harsh, fluorescent lights of your office, it just looks bleak.
Totally bleak.
You end up eating it mindlessly while scrolling through your inbox, and by the time you swallow the last bite, you are somehow still hungry and completely unfulfilled.
It is a universally recognized, deeply uninspiring moment in the modern workday. It's a moment of total resignation.
Yeah.
And if you refuse to surrender to option one, you inevitably fall at option two, which is the takeout trap.
The takeout trap. You look at that soggy sandwich, you throw it in the fridge for quote-unquote tomorrow.
Which is a lie we all tell ourselves.
A total lie. And you sprint out to the nearest fast casual place. You wait in a line that wraps out the door, surrounded by a dozen other stressed out people looking at their watches.
That's tapping their feet.
You tap your phone for an $18 burrito bowl, you rush back to your desk, and you inhale the food in 5 minutes flat because your next meeting starts in exactly 3.
And then the real punishment begins.
All right. You spend the entire afternoon fighting a massive, overwhelming wall of exhaustion.
It is incredibly common. But what is truly fascinating here is how culturally normalized this entire rhythm has become.
It really has.
We have collectively accepted this bizarre idea that fueling the human body is somehow an annoying interruption to our productivity.
Rather than the source of it.
Exactly, rather than the actual biological source of it.
Huh.
We view lunch as a nuisance, a chore to be minimized. But recently I was reading through a phenomenal resource. We'll just refer to it as the full story for our conversation today. And it completely reframes this entire midday rhythm.
I'm so glad we're getting into this.
It really is an eye-opener. It is built around a concept of reclaiming the lunch hour through a philosophy of 15-minute high-energy setups.
Okay, I love the sound of that.
Right. It outlines exactly why this habit of skipping lunch, or settling for the takeout trap, is actively working against our biology, draining our finances, and ultimately sabotaging our evenings.
Yeah, the ripple effects are huge.
Massive. More importantly, the guide shows how a very simple shift in philosophy can completely change the flow of our days.
I am so glad we are unpacking this today because that daily lunch choice, it feels so incredibly small in the moment, but the ripple effects dictate the entire rest of your day.
Absolutely.
Let's look at the actual reality of the takeout trap first, because I think we justify it by saying, oh, it's just a salad, it's just a quick sandwich.
It feels harmless.
It does feel harmless when you're just double-clicking your phone to pay with Apple Pay. You don't even see the money leave your account.
That invisible spending is exactly why the math is genuinely sobering when you finally zoom out.
Do we want to look at the numbers?
Let's look at the numbers. If you are spending just $15 a day on a takeout lunch, which, let's be honest, is a conservative estimate these days, that is $75 a week.
$75.
Over the course of a standard working year, you are looking at roughly $3,750.
Let's just pause right there. $3,750.
It's a lot.
That isn't just a little extra pocket change. That is a massive sum of money.
It is the cost of a luxury vacation. It is a substantial contribution to a retirement account. It's a down payment on a car.
Wow.
And it's just evaporating day by day into lukewarm paninis and sad, overpriced salads.
And honestly, if you live in a major metropolitan area cities like Toronto, London, or New York, with the reality of recent inflation, rising ingredient costs, and the premium that restaurants have to charge just to keep their doors open,
You were realistically looking at closer to 20.
maybe even $25 a day once you add a coffee, a tip, or a sparkling water.
Easily. You could easily be spending $5,000 a year on food that you eat in 10 minutes while staring at a screen.
It's painful to think about.
The financial drain is immense.
Yeah.
But the physiological cost, the toll it takes on your body, is arguably so much worse.
That is the part that always gets me. The physical feeling after that rushed takeout meal. You finish the bowl, you feel overly full, but almost instantly the brain fog rolls in.
The 2.30 crash.
Yeah, you feel like someone put lead weights on your eyelids.
There is a deep, highly documented biological reason for that exact feeling. The full story references the work of Dr. Pal, a gastroenterologist who breaks down the mechanics of what happens when we eat a heavy, often carb-heavy, takeout meal and then immediately return to sitting entirely frozen at a desk.
Because we don't move.
Right. The human digestive system requires gentle movement to keep gut motility active and efficient. When you are slumped in an ergonomic office chair for hours on end, that motility dramatically slows down. Your stomach is essentially trying to process a massive payload without any physical assistance from your body's movement.
Okay, so the food is just sitting there. What does that actually do to us?
It triggers a whole cascade of negative physiological effects. Because the digestion is stalled, and you've likely consumed a meal high in refined carbohydrates and industrial seed oils.
Which is standard for fast casual food.
Exactly. You experience much higher, much more aggressive post-meal blood sugar spikes. Your body has to pump out massive amounts of insulin to deal with that spike.
Right.
Over time, dealing with these daily spikes contributes directly to visceral fat storage, particularly around the midsection.
Ugh, the worst spot.
Even worse, prolonged sitting after a heavy, highly processed meal reduces your gut microbial diversity.
And why does that matter for a Tuesday afternoon?
Because your gut microbiome is the foundational bedrock of your immune system and your mood regulation. So when we talk about that 2.3D p.m. slump where you can barely keep your eyes open, we need to stop blaming ourselves.
It's not a character flaw.
It isn't laziness, it isn't a lack of willpower, and it isn't because you didn't drink enough coffee. It is pure biology.
Wow.
Your body is forcefully diverting massive amounts of energy away from your brain and toward your digestive tract to deal with a heavy meal, all while your blood sugar is rapidly plummeting from the insulin spike.
So let's fit this in plain English and pass it through the reality filter for everyone listening.
Please do.
When you skip the heavy takeout and understand this biology, what you are actually doing is buying back your evening.
That's a great way to put it.
Because that biological crash is the exact reason you find yourself staring blankly at a spreadsheet at 2:30 p.m., feeling irritable, foggy, and completely incapable of making a simple decision.
You're just trying to survive until 5:00.
Exactly. You end up reading the same email 4 times without comprehending a single word. When you eliminate that heavy, immobile digestion process, you eliminate the afternoon wall.
Yes.
You actually retain the mental clarity to finish your work efficiently. And you know what that means? It means you get to close your laptop at 5:00 p.m. and leave on time.
Which is the ultimate goal.
Right. You don't have to drag tasks into your evening because you are too exhausted to finish them during the day. It means when you log off, you actually have the patience to talk to your partner, the energy to play with your kids, or the motivation to go for a walk instead of collapsing on the sofa in a carb coma.
Exactly.
That is the real cost of the takeout trap. It steals your evening.
Precisely. It is a theft of your personal time and energy. To reclaim that energy, the guide introduces a vital shift in philosophy.
Okay, let's hear the philosophy.
The core idea, the mantra of this entire approach is this: assemble smarter, do not cook more.
Assemble smarter, do not cook more. I like the sound of that, but what does it actually mean in practice?
It means we need to clearly separate active time from passive time.
Okay.
When we talk about a true 15-minute lunch, we are only counting active time. Active time is the minutes you spend physically engaged with the food.
Like chopping.
Right. It is chopping a vegetable, whisking a simple dressing in a bowl, or packing a container into your bag. Passive time is the time the food spends transforming without your physical involvement.
So if it's in the oven, that's passive.
Exactly. If you combine oats and milk in a jar and it sits in the fridge overnight, that is passive time. The fridge is doing the work, not you. If you put a tray of sweet potatoes in the oven for 40 minutes, your active time was the 3 minutes it took to chop them. The oven does the rest.
That makes so much sense.
Recognizing this difference completely removes the intimidation factor of preparing your own food. We are not asking you to become a gourmet chef on a Tuesday morning. We are asking you to become an efficient assembler.
That distinction is a total relief. Because let's be totally honest here, at 7 p.m. on a weeknight, the last thing I want to do is stand over a hot stove for an hour prepping meals for the next day.
No one wants to do that.
I am tired. I want to watch television and turn my brain off. So the idea that I am just smartly arranging things rather than engaging in complex culinary techniques is highly appealing.
It's much more sustainable.
But even with that relief, the idea of figuring out exactly what to assemble can be exhausting. I think so many of us fall into the trap of either eating a massive, heavy meal, or we go to the complete opposite extreme. We try to be quote-unquote healthy, and we end up totally starving by mid-afternoon.
Yes. That is the classic starvation binge cycle. And it is completely rampant in corporate culture.
I see it all the time.
It is deeply rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of nutrition, perpetuated by decades of terrible diet advice. Standard diet logic tells you the only way to be healthy is to eat fewer calories. So a well-intentioned person packs a tiny 200-calorie diet salad. It's usually just a massive pile of delicate, watery lettuce leaves, a few sad cherry tomatoes, and a splash of balsamic vinegar.
And maybe one thin slice of cucumber?
Exactly. They eat it at noon, feeling very virtuous.
I have eaten that exact salad so many times, and I know exactly how the story ends.
We all do. What happens biologically? Because there is no substance, no complex fiber, no protein, and no fat, your stomach empties incredibly rapidly. The water and the tiny amount of carbohydrates are processed almost instantly.
So you're basically empty again an hour later.
Right. By 3:00 p.m., your body is literally screaming for cellular energy. Your blood sugar bottoms out. Your brain senses a famine state, and your evolutionary biology takes over.
This is the part where the willpower just vanishes.
You lose all rational thought, you wander aimlessly into the break room, and you consume a 400-calorie, highly processed blueberry muffin, or you devour a family-sized bag of chips from the vending machine. Standard diet logic entirely fails the modern worker because it fights against human biology.
It is so validating to hear that the 3.0 BM muffin isn't a failure of my moral character. It's my body trying to keep me alive because I fed it air and vinegar for lunch.
Exactly.
So if the sad diet salad doesn't work and the heavy burrito bowl puts us to sleep, how do we build a lunch that actually holds us over? How do we get that stable energy without requiring a master's degree in nutritional science?
This is where the full story introduces a brilliant, highly accessible visual framework called the lunch grid.
The lunch grid.
The beauty of the lunch grid is that it delivers optimal, stable nutrition entirely without the math. You do not need calorie-counting apps on your phone.
Thank goodness.
You certainly do not need a digital food scale cluttering up your kitchen counter. You just need to ensure every single lunch you assemble contains 4 specific elements.
Okay, 4 elements.
These elements are designed to give you 4 to 5 hours of incredibly stable, sustained energy. The formula is non-negotiable, but endlessly customizable. It is 1 base, plus 1 protein, plus 1 veg, plus 1 fat.
Base, protein, veg, fat.
Correct. If you miss even one of these quadrants, the chemical balance of the meal falls apart, the digestion rate changes, and you will eventually crash.
Okay, let's break those 4 quadrants down, because I think people often accidentally skip one of these without realizing it, and then wonder why they are hungry an hour later.
Let's start with the first block, the base. This is your complex carbohydrate or your primary fiber source. Visually, you are aiming for a cupped hand size portion.
Cupped hand, okay.
We're talking about quinoa, brown rice, a high-quality whole wheat wrap, sweet potatoes, or barley. The base is crucial because it provides immediate accessible energy to your brain. But the complex fiber is the magic key here.
What does the fiber do?
Fiber acts as a biological brake pedal. It physically slows down the rate at which the carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, which prevents those massive sugar spikes and subsequent crashes.
Got it. Cupped hand of a base. What's next?
Next is the protein. The visual measurement here is roughly the size and thickness of your palm.
Palm-sized.
This could be shredded rotisserie chicken, a couple of hard-boiled eggs, a generous scoop of edamame, tofu, or black beans. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient available to us. It actively repairs muscle tissue, supports immune function, and critically, it requires more caloric energy for your body to break down compared to fats or carbs.
So it works harder.
Because it is chemically complex, it stays in your digestive tract longer, which keeps you feeling full and focused.
And the third block in the grid.
The third is the veg. The visual cue here is the size of your fist, or honestly, as much as you can possibly fit in the container.
The more the better.
Sliced cucumbers, roasted bell peppers, shredded carrots, baby spinach, cherry tomatoes. This quadrant is your volume. It physically stretches the stomach, which sends fullness signals to the brain.
That makes sense.
It provides vital micronutrients, antioxidants, and water content. But perhaps most importantly, it provides a satisfying crunch.
Oh, I always need something crunchy.
The psychological aspect of chewing and experiencing different textures is incredibly important for a meal to feel complete to the human brain. If everything is mushy, your brain doesn't register that you've eaten a proper meal.
That is so true. A mushy lunch is just sad. And finally, the fourth block. This is the one I suspect most people intentionally skip when they're trying to be quote-unquote healthy.
Yes, the fourth block is the fat. You are aiming for a thumb-sized portion. This could be half an avocado, a heavy scoop of hummus, a handful of walnuts or pumpkin seeds, or a generous drizzle of high-quality extra virgin olive oil.
I want to pause here because I think the 1990s low-fat diet trend did irreparable psychological damage to how we view food.
It really did.
Yeah. We were told for decades that eating fat makes you fat. Why is this fat block so mathematically critical to the grid? Can't we just do base, protein, and veg?
You absolutely cannot skip the fat, and the biology here is truly fascinating. I'll explain exactly what happens. Fat is critical because it triggers the release of specific satiety hormones in your brain.
Okay, stop right there. Explain this to me like I am 5 years old.
Oh.
What is a satiety hormone and what is it actually doing?
Satiety simply means the feeling of being full and satisfied. When you consume dietary fat, it enters your digestive system and triggers your body to release a specific hormone called cholecystokinin, or CCK.
CCK
Is your brain's check engine light turning off. Or better yet, think of it as a physical switch in your brain. When CCK is released, it flips the switch. It literally sends a powerful chemical signal to your nervous system saying, we have received adequate nutrition. You can stop seeking food now.
No.
If you eat a meal with zero fat, that switch never gets flipped. You can eat 3 pounds of fat-free lettuce and chicken breast, and your stomach will be physically stretched to the limit, but your brain will still be whispering, we need more food.
Wow. So skipping the fat is why you can eat a massive salad and still want a candy bar 10 minutes later. The switch never flipped.
Exactly. Furthermore, fat serves a mechanical purpose. It physically slows down the rate of gastric emptying.
Which is what?
Gastric emptying is just the speed at which food leaves your stomach and enters your intestines. Fat acts like a traffic cop, slowing the entire process down. It keeps the meal in your stomach longer, creating a slow, steady, continuous release of energy over 4 to 5 hours, rather than a quick flash of energy followed by a devastating crash.
So translating this entire biological grid into a normal, messy, busy Tuesday morning, the absolute beauty of this concept is the total mental freedom it gives you.
Complete freedom.
The benefit to your daily life is profound. You don't have to weigh a single grain of rice. You don't have to stand in your kitchen scanning barcodes into a fitness app while you're trying to find your car keys and get out the door.
Yeah, none of that.
You just look at your container and mentally check off the 4 visual boxes. Base, yes, handful of quinoa. Protein, yes, palm of chicken. Veg, yes, fist of cucumbers. Fat, yes, thumb of avocado.
It's that simple.
If those 4 are there, you have a foolproof biological guarantee that you will not be silently starving, sweating, and losing your train of thought during your 3.0 p.m. performance review. It takes all the anxiety and the decision fatigue entirely out of the process.
It really does. It replaces anxiety with a reliable system. But to execute this grid efficiently, you need the right environment. You cannot create a stress-free 15-minute lunch if your kitchen is constantly working against you.
That is so true.
If you are fighting with your Tupperware drawer every morning, you will give up and go back to the takeout trap. This is where the concept of the speed arsenal comes in.
The speed arsenal.
The full story divides this into hardware and software. The hardware is remarkably simple. You do not need expensive single-use gadgets. You don't need a sous vide machine or a massive food processor. You need 3 non-negotiable pieces of gear to build your rhythm.
I'm actually taking notes right now because my container drawer is literally a nightmare.
Most people's are.
It is a graveyard of mismatched plastic bottoms and lids that belong to containers I threw away 3 years ago. If I open it too fast, things fall out on the floor. It is a source of daily stress. How do I fix the hardware?
First, you clear out that drawer. Then you acquire wide-mouth, 1-quart glass mason jars.
Mason jars.
They are incredibly cheap. You can buy them in bulk at hardware stores, and they are superior to plastic in every way. They do not stain, they do not absorb odors from garlic or onions, and their vertical shape is the absolute scientific secret to keeping salads crisp for days, which we will explore in a moment.
Okay, jars.
Second, you need glass bento boxes with secure snap-on lids and internal dividers. These are essential for keeping wet ingredients, like a scoop of hummus or a slice of tomato, completely separated from dry ones, like crackers or toasted nuts, until the moment you eat them.
Right, because nobody likes soggy crackers.
Exactly. And third, you need a high-quality, vacuum-insulated stainless steel thermos. You want to strictly avoid the cheap, plastic-lined thermos options you see in the impulse aisle because they lose heat far too rapidly and will leave you with a lukewarm soup.
Okay, so that is the hardware. A clean drawer with jars, divided glass boxes, and a serious metal thermos. I love that it's minimal. But I have to be honest, I actually have the jars. I bought them during a brief burst of motivation last January. My problem is that by Thursday morning, my fridge is a barren wasteland.
Ah.
I open the door and there is half a lemon, a bottle of ketchup, and some questionable milk. If I haven't gone to the grocery store, the beautiful hardware is completely useless. What is the software?
This is exactly why the software is just as important as the hardware. The software consists of your pantry essentials, the shelf-stable heroes that ensure you always have a meal, even when the fridge looks entirely bare.
What are we stocking?
We are talking about canned beans, black beans, chickpeas, cannellini beans. And by the way, if you open a can of beans and rinse them thoroughly under cold water in a strainer, you instantly lower the sodium content by up to 40%.
Oh, that's a great tip.
You also want to stock quick cooking grains. Think couscous or vermicelli rice noodles. These are brilliant because they don't even require a stove. They cook in minutes using just hot water from a kettle. And of course, a solid rotating supply of nuts and seeds, almonds, walnuts, sunflower seeds for that crucial fat block and the necessary crunch.
I feel like there is a weird, unspoken stigma in the wellness world around using packaged or pre-made things. Like if you didn't soak the beans overnight yourself, you are somehow failing at healthy living.
That stigma is toxic, and it is exactly why people burn out and quit. The full story actively dismantles that idea. It introduces a concept called the Semi-Homemade Hall of Fame.
I love that name.
You have to give yourself permission to cheat. Professional, Michelin-starred chefs use strategic shortcuts in their kitchens constantly, and so should you. Buying a pre-cooked hot rotisserie chicken from the supermarket on a Sunday and simply shredding the meat into a glass container gives you a perfect high-quality protein block for 4 days.
And it takes zero cooking.
It takes 5 minutes. Bagged broccoli slaw and pre-washed spinach kits save you 10 minutes of tedious washing, drying, and chopping delicate greens. Canned lentils offer the exact same nutritional profile and fiber content as dried lentils without the hours of soaking and simmering. The entire goal is removing friction from your daily rhythm.
I am fully adopting the Semi-Homemade Hall of Fame. But what about the flavor? Because I am just going to be real with you. I can eat plain chicken, brown rice, and steamed broccoli for exactly 2 days before I lose my mind from sheer boredom, throw the third container in the trash, and order heavily spiced Thai food.
Boredom is the ultimate enemy of any sustained habit.
Yeah.
If the food is bland, the rhythm will die. To combat this, you stock your fridge with what are called the 5 flavor bombs.
Flavor bombs.
These are high-impact, intensely flavorful condiments that require zero prep work. The 5 essentials are a bright herbaceous pesto, a creamy, rich tahini, a spicy, crunchy chili crisp or a good sriracha, a high-quality garlicky hummus, and a sharp, tangy Dijon mustard.
Okay, so you just keep those ready to go.
Exactly. Here's how you use them. You have your basic semi-homemade base. Let's say it's shredded rotisserie chicken, quinoa, and chopped cucumbers. On Monday, you toss it with the pesto and some cherry tomatoes, and the flavor profile goes straight to Italy. It feels fresh and vibrant.
Oh.
On Tuesday, you take the exact same chicken, quinoa, and cucumbers, but you drizzle it with a mix of tahini and chili crisp and maybe a squeeze of lime. Suddenly, you have a deep, savory, Asian-inspired sesame dish. The exact same base ingredients travel the world just by changing the sauce.
That is genuinely brilliant. It makes the Sunday grocery list so incredibly short and cheap, but the meals feel completely different Monday through Thursday.
Exactly.
Okay, so Once you have the jars, the pantry staples, and the flavor bombs, how do you actually fit the physical assembly into your week? Because everyone's schedule and energy levels look totally different.
This is a crucial point, and it's where most diet plans fail by enforcing rigid rules. The full story stresses that you must identify your natural personal rhythm. It breaks this down by having you choose between two distinct personality types, the Sunday Batcher and the Daily Assembler.
Okay, let's look at the Sunday Batcher first. Who is this person?
The Sunday Batcher is someone who craves a fully organized week. They love looking into their fridge and seeing uniform rows of containers. They do not mind eating similar textures a few days in a row, and their primary overarching goal is absolute zero stress on a weekday morning.
So they front load the work.
Right. Their rhythm looks like taking one dedicated hour on a Sunday afternoon. They put on an audiobook, a podcast, or some great music, and they do a power hour. They chop and roast a massive tray of root vegetables, they cook a large batch of quinoa, they shredded chicken, and they whisk a jar of vinaigrette. Come Tuesday morning, their time investment is literally 0 minutes. They simply grab a sealed container from the fridge, drop it in their bag, and walk out the door.
I have friends who are Sunday batchers, and I envy their discipline, but I have to push back here. I guard my weekends fiercely. By the time Sunday afternoon rolls around, I'm usually doing laundry, trying to prep for Monday meetings, and trying to squeeze out the last few hours of freedom. The thought of spending an hour standing over a cutting board chopping sweet potatoes sounds like a chore that will ruin my Sunday evening. Am I doomed to fail?
You are absolutely not doomed, and you are the perfect example of the complete opposite personality type, the Daily Assembler.
Okay, that sounds more like me.
The Daily Assembler despises three-day-old leftovers. They highly value fresh, crisp textures and daily meal variety. They also happen to have 5 to 10 minutes to spare in the morning while the coffee is brewing.
Which I do.
Their rhythm involves keeping the pantry and the flavor bombs fully stocked, but they assemble the meal from scratch each day. They might build a fresh turkey and hummus wrap, pack a varied bento box with hard-boiled eggs and fresh fruit, or layer a fresh jar salad right before heading out the door.
And this is exactly why the real-world application is so important here. If you are someone like me who wants to relax on a Sunday, trying to force yourself to become a rigid Sunday batcher is going to make you miserable.
It will backfire.
You will inevitably experience burnout, you will skip the prep one Sunday, and you will feel an immense amount of guilt when Monday arrives and you have nothing to eat. Identifying your natural flow removes all of that guilt. And for those of us caught in the middle who want fresh food but have chaotic mornings, there is a third option.
The hybrid strategy.
The hybrid strategy. You might wash the greens, slice the cucumbers, and shake up the dressing on Sunday, but you store them in separate containers. Then you actively assemble the bowl each morning. You get the peak freshness without the morning scramble.
The physics of that freshness is actually quite remarkable, especially when we look at the mechanics of the mason jar salad we mentioned earlier.
Right, you said there was a secret to the jars.
There's a deeply scientific reason the vertical jar is superior to a wide, flat plastic bowl, and it all comes down to the science of osmosis.
Osmosis. Okay, you are going to have to take me back to 10th grade biology class. Explain osmosis to me and why it is ruining my salads.
Gladly. Let's look at what happens in a normal, flat Tupperware container.
Yeah.
If you mix a salad in a wide bowl on Sunday, the dressing inevitably coats the delicate leafy greens because the dressing has a higher concentration of solutes, meaning it is packed with salt and acetic vinegar or lemon juice.
Right.
It chemically pulls the water out of the plant cells of the lettuce to balance the concentration. The structural integrity of the cells collapses, the water leaks out, and within an hour you have a soggy, wilted, deeply unappetizing mess.
Just a sad puddle.
Exactly. But when you use a vertical 1-quart glass mason jar, you use gravity to defeat osmosis. You follow a very strict golden order of layering logic, working specifically from the bottom to the top.
I love a strict set of rules when it comes to assembly. Walk me through this golden order, layer by layer.
First, at the very bottom of the empty jar is the wet zone. This is your dressing, your balsamic vinegar, your soy sauce, or your tahini. It goes in first and stays perfectly trapped at the narrow base.
Okay, wet stuff at the bottom.
Second, right on top of the dressing, you add the hard barrier. These are robust, dense vegetables like chopped carrots, thick cucumbers, whole cherry tomatoes, or chickpeas.
So they don't get soggy.
Exactly, they do not get soggy. In fact, they gently marinate in the dressing over a few days, absorbing the flavor while physically protecting everything above them. Third is the soft zone. This holds your cooked beans, your quinoa, your pasta, or your corn.
Right.
Fourth comes your protein block. your chicken, your tofu, or your chopped egg. This layer is kept relatively dry, suspended far above the dressing to preserve its intended texture.
And then the greens.
Finally, right at the top, stuffed near the lid, is the dry zone. This is where your delicate leafy greens, your spinach, your arugula, your spring mix, sit safely. They remain absolutely dry and incredibly crisp because gravity prevents the dressing from traveling upward. When you arrive at the office and you are ready to eat, you simply turn the jar upside down and give it a vigorous shake. The dressing cascades over the greens at the exact moment of consumption.
The practical magic of this cannot be overstated, so let's translate this to your actual day. Taking just 5 extra seconds in the morning to stack those ingredients in the correct order gives you total peace of mind.
It completely changes the experience.
It means that when you finally get a moment to breathe at 1:00 p.m., you aren't opening a container of sadness. You are opening a crisp, vibrant, beautiful meal that genuinely tastes like it was made in a restaurant 5 minutes ago. You get to enjoy your food instead of looking at a wilted, brown, watery pile of mush that makes you feel depressed before you inevitably throw it straight into the office trash can and go buy a bagel.
Exactly. It preserves the dignity of the meal, and it preserves your desire to actually eat it. But beyond preserving texture and dignity, we also have to have a serious conversation about preserving safety.
Safety.
Yes. The full story includes a non-negotiable section on Food Safety 101, specifically focusing on what is known in the culinary world as the danger zone.
The danger zone.
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly ominous. What are we talking about here?
We are talking about the specific temperature range between 40 degrees and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. In this zone, if your food sits at room temperature for more than 2 hours, harmful bacteria pathogens that cause serious foodborne illness can double in number every 20 minutes.
Oh, wow. That's fast.
To combat this, you cannot just throw a plastic container in a canvas tote bag and leave it under your desk. You must use the ice pack rule. If you do not have access to a reliable, clean office fridge, or if you are a teacher, a nurse, or someone who works in the field, one tiny ice pack is not enough. You need 2 sources of cold.
2 sources.
You place a frozen, heavy-duty gel pack on the bottom of an insulated bag. You place your food container in the middle, and you place a frozen water bottle or a second ice pack on top. This creates a cold sandwich effect inside the closed environment of the insulated bag. Cold air sinks, so the top ice pack continuously pushes cold air down over the food, ensuring the core temperature of your meal stays safely below that 40-degree threshold until lunch.
That makes total logical sense for cold food like salads or wraps. But what happens in late November? I live in a cold climate, and by November, all I want is a hot, comforting bowl of soup or chili. But the office microwave is a literal crime scene. It smells like burnt popcorn and despair, and I refuse to use it.
This is exactly where we elevate our thermos game, and it relies on another wonderful, very simple bit of physics regarding heat transfer. Many people complain that they bought a nice thermos, but it doesn't keep their food hot until lunch. It's always lukewarm by noon.
That's the worst.
The mistake they are making is putting piping hot food directly into a cold room temperature stainless steel container.
Wait, I do this literally all the time. I heat the soup on the stove until it's bubbling, pour it in the thermos, screw the lid on tight. Is that wrong?
Thermodynamics dictates that heat aggressively and immediately moves toward cold. When you put boiling hot soup into a cold metal thermos, the metal instantly steals the heat from the food in order to equalize the internal temperature. You are dropping the temperature of your lunch by 20 or 30 degrees in a matter of seconds.
I had no idea. How do you fix that?
The fix is a technique called preheating. You boil water in a kettle, you fill the empty thermos to the absolute brim with the boiling water, put the lid loosely on, and let it sit on the counter for exactly 5 minutes.
Just to warm up the metal.
Exactly. This saturates the metal walls of the thermos with intense heat. After 5 minutes, you dump the water out, and you immediately add your piping hot food, sealing it tightly. Because the metal is already hot, it doesn't steal the heat from your food. This single 5-minute step adds up to 2 extra hours of heat retention, ensuring your meal stays steaming hot and, more importantly, safely above that 140-degree threshold.
Okay, that is a total game changer. I am absolutely doing that tomorrow. So, what kind of hot meals are we putting in there? Because, again, I am the daily assembler. I am not making a complex, slow-simmered beef stew at 7 a.m. on a Wednesday.
You definitely shouldn't be. The full story outlines several brilliant just-add-water techniques that take advantage of pantry staples. My absolute favorite is the DIY instant noodle cup.
Oh, like the ones from college?
Yes, but we all know those cheap styrofoam noodle cups from college are packed with staggering amounts of sodium and artificial preservatives. We are going to recreate that, but make it nutrient-dense. In the bottom of a heat-proof glass jar, you put a teaspoon of high-quality miso paste or a low-sodium chicken bouillon paste.
Okay.
You add a splash of soy sauce, a drop of sesame oil, and maybe some grated ginger. Then you add a handful of frozen vegetables, peas, corn, carrots, straight from the freezer. Add a handful of leftover shredded rotisserie chicken. Finally, you top it with a nest of dry vermicelli rice noodles. Vermicelli is the key ingredient here because unlike regular Italian pasta, it is extremely thin and rehydrates instantly in hot water.
So you just take that dry jar to work.
Exactly. You pack the dry jar. When lunchtime hits, you walk over to the office water cooler or the break room kettle. You pour boiling water directly into the jar, covering the noodles. You place the lid on loosely, let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes, and then stir from the bottom up. The miso paste dissolves. The frozen veggies cook perfectly. The chicken warms through and the noodles soften. You have a phenomenal, aromatic, steaming hot noodle soup that took 3 minutes of active prep.
That sounds incredible. It feels like a magic trick, and it entirely bypasses the disgusting office microwave. What else can we do in the thermos?
There is also a 10-minute white bean chili that utilizes the pantry perfectly. You take a can of white cannellini beans, half a jar of bright salsa verde, some of that shredded chicken, and a little chicken broth. You put it in a small pot and heat it up rapidly on the stove.
Super easy.
But here's the secret step that makes it feel gourmet. While it is heating, you take a fork or a potato masher and you intentionally mash about a quarter of the beans against the side of the pot.
Why mash them?
This forcefully releases the natural starches inside the beans directly into the liquid. It instantly thickens the broth, making it creamy and velvety, so it feels and tastes like it has been simmering low and slow for 4 hours. Then, into your preheated thermos it goes.
These setups are amazing when you have a few minutes in a stocked pantry, but let's be totally honest about how real life actually happens.
Life happens.
There are mornings where the alarm simply doesn't go off. You sleep through it, the dog throws up on the rug, you spill coffee down your clean shirt, you have exactly 10 minutes to leave the house, and when you open the fridge, there is nothing but half an onion and a bottle of mustard. On those chaotic mornings, all these lovely, elegant habits usually fly straight out the window, and you end up sitting in the drive-through line at 12:30, ordering a burger and fries and feeling terrible about it.
The full story anticipates exactly that scenario. It understands that perfection is impossible, so it provides a strategy called the supermarket sprint. It is the ultimate emergency bailout plan. If you wake up to chaos, have zero food prepped and no time, you do not default to a fast food window. You pull your car into the nearest standard grocery store on your lunch break or on your way to work.
Okay, I am in the grocery store. I have 5 minutes. What am I doing?
First, you can execute the grocery store gourmet fix. You walk into the produce section and grab one bag of a pre-washed salad kit. The kind that already has the dressing, the cheese, and the crunchy toppings in little packets inside. Then you walk to the deli and grab one hot, fresh rotisserie chicken. Finally, you grab a small clamshell of cherry tomatoes.
Then I don't even need a kitchen for this.
You can assemble this in the office kitchen or, honestly, sitting in the driver's seat of your car. You open the salad bag, tear open the dressing and toppings, dump them right into the bag, hold the top tight, and shake it vigorously. You tear generous chunks of the warm, savory chicken right off the bone and toss them in. Along with the tomatoes, you are done.
That is so simple.
You get fresh, crisp greens, incredibly high-quality, satiating protein, and a massive volume of food. The total cost is maybe $6 per serving instead of the $18 you would spend at a boutique salad bar.
And the best part is you can put the rest of that rotisserie chicken in the office fridge and take it home for dinner. It solves 2 meals at once. But what if I am not in the mood for a massive salad? What if I just want to graze?
Then you pivot to the adult Lunchable. You hit the inner aisles and grab a box of high-quality whole grain crackers. You go to the cheese section and buy a package of pre-sliced, good-quality cheese like a sharp cheddar or a creamy Havarti. You grab a packet of low-sodium turkey breast slices, and you grab a crisp apple.
I love an adult Lunchable.
It requires 0 utensils, 0 prep. It balances your macronutrients perfectly, according to the lunch grid, and is incredibly satisfying to slowly graze on while you work at your desk.
But what if you were tempted by the actual physical salad bar at the grocery store, the one with the sneeze guard and the tongs? Those can get wildly expensive if you aren't careful. I've definitely paid $16 for a plastic box of lettuce.
They absolutely can, and that is because salad bars operate on a very specific business model. They charge by weight. You are paying the exact same price per pound for lightweight spinach as you are for heavy, waterlogged cucumbers. You can easily spend $15 if you aren't strategic.
Now, how do we hack it?
The hack here is to only buy the lightweight, high-value, high-nutrition items at the bar. You load your plastic container with fresh spinach, spicy arugula, lightweight sunflower seeds, and dried cranberries. You strictly, absolutely avoid the heavy items.
Like what?
Do not put hard-boiled eggs, wet cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, or heavy, dense scoops of wet dressing in that container. You are literally paying a massive premium for water weight. Instead, you keep a heavy can of tuna, a bag of almonds, or a bottle of your own favorite dressing in your office desk drawer to add later. You combine the lightweight store items with your heavy, pre-purchased desk stash items.
This is the ultimate translation to real life. So what here is monumental. Having these 5-minute grocery store bailout plans is exactly what prevents you from completely abandoning your health and financial goals on the days when everything goes wrong.
It's just your safety net.
You have a safety net. You don't have to throw your hands up and say, well, the day is ruined. I might as well get the large fries. And speaking of financial goals, I really want to touch on the budgeting aspect of this because there is this pervasive, stubborn myth in our culture that eating a healthy whole food diet is a luxury that only a privileged few can actually afford.
The full story confronts that exact myth directly and aggressively. It argues that closing the gap between health and wealth is entirely possible for the average person.
How so?
The truth is, eating healthy is generally only expensive if you insist on buying premium, heavily marketed lifestyle brands like $12 organic pressed juices, or, more commonly, if you waste a massive amount of the food you do buy.
We do waste a lot of food.
Food waste is literally taking your hard-earned cash, crumbling it up, and throwing it into the compost bin. To counter this, the book introduces a rhythm called the zero waste flow.
Okay, give me a tangible example of the zero waste flow. What are we usually throwing away that we shouldn't be? Where is the money leaking out of our kitchens?
A prime universal example is broccoli stems. Most people buy a head of broccoli, chop off the fluffy green florets, and throw the massive, heavy, pale green stalk directly into the trash.
I do that.
They throw away half the weight of what they just paid for. But the inside of that stem is actually sweeter, more tender, and crunchier than the florets themselves. The hack is to take a simple vegetable peeler, strip away the tough, fibrous outer skin, and chop the tender inside into little coins or matchsticks.
Oh, interesting.
They are fantastic to eat raw, dipped in hummus as a snack, or tossed into a hot stir-fry for an incredible crunch. Another great example involves the leafy green tops of carrots or radishes.
Wait, the leafy green parts? When I buy carrots at the farmer's market, I literally ask the cashier to rip those off and throw them away so I don't have to carry them to my car.
You are throwing away free, highly nutritious food. Those greens are completely edible and packed with flavor. Instead of tossing them, you take those bright green tops home, wash them thoroughly to remove the grit, and throw them in a blender.
Just blend them up.
You add a generous glug of olive oil, a clove of garlic, a squeeze of lemon juice, and some cheap walnuts or sunflower seeds. You blend it up, and you instantly have a vibrant, peppery, beautiful crash pesto.
Trash pesto, I love that.
It serves as a totally free fat block for your lunch grid, utilizing parts of the vegetable you already paid for but would have otherwise destroyed. And going back to our supermarket sprint, after you finish pulling the meat off that rotisserie chicken, you never ever throw the bare carcass away.
You make stock.
You put those bones in a pot, cover them with water, throw in some onion skins and those carrot ends you saved, and boil it for an hour. You have incredibly rich, deeply flavorful, totally free chicken stock to use as the base for those DIY noodle cups we talked about.
Okay, I have to stop you there and push back. Let's be totally brutally honest.
Sure.
I am barely keeping my head above water on a Tuesday morning. I am trying to get dressed, answer Slacks, and find my keys. Am I really going to save my dirty radish tops, wash them, get out my blender, make a batch of trash pesto, and then have to clean the blender? That sounds like a massive amount of extra work for a condiment. It feels like the opposite of a stress-free flow.
That is a completely fair challenge. If you try to do it on a Tuesday morning, it will be a disaster, and you'll hate it. The zero waste flow is not a daily morning activity.
Good.
It is a Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon microtask. It takes exactly 60 seconds to throw those washed greens into a blender when you are already in the kitchen putting groceries away. You put the pesto in a jar, put it in the fridge, and it sits there, passively waiting to elevate your boring Tuesday lunch.
So it's about timing.
It is about capturing value in the moments when you do have energy, so it serves you in the moments when you don't. It completely changes the financial math. You are stretching every single dollar to its absolute maximum utility.
Right, I can accept it as a weekend microtask. That makes sense. But there is another kind of cost when you start bringing your lunch every single day, and that is the social cost. Offices have distinct cultures.
They do.
If your team always goes out for fancy tacos on Thursday, or if the boss always organizes a group trip to the sushi place down the street, and you are suddenly the only person staying behind, sitting alone in the break room with a mason jar, it can feel incredibly isolating. You look antisocial, or worse, you miss out on crucial networking moments.
It is a very real, very difficult friction point. Navigating entrenched office dynamics while trying to maintain strict personal goals is a delicate dance. You don't want to alienate your team. The full story provides a specific, highly effective, social frugal script to handle this elegantly without creating awkwardness.
Let's role play this. Let's say Dave from accounting comes up to my desk at 11:45 a.m. He says, "Hey, a bunch of us are going to that new upscale sushi place down the block. It's going to be like $30. Grab your coat. Let's go." If I just say, "No thanks, I brought my lunch," Dave thinks I don't like him. How do I execute the script?
You use a script that firmly sets a boundary, provides a relatable reason, and crucially does not create distance. You look at Dave and say something like, "Dave, I would absolutely love to, but I'm being really disciplined about bringing my lunch this month because I am finally saving up to renovate my kitchen or take that trip to Italy. But I would genuinely love to come walk down with you guys and just sit at the table with my coffee while you eat."
That's really good.
Or, if leaving the office isn't feasible, you offer an immediate free alternative. You say, "I actually brought my lunch today because of my saving goal, but how about we go for a 15-minute coffee walk around the building together right after you get back?"
I absolutely love this script because let's translate what that actually does for you socially. It achieves two massive things. First, it firmly respects your own financial boundaries. You aren't caving to peer pressure and spending $30 you don't want to spend.
Right.
But second, it signals to Dave and the rest of your team that you still deeply value their company. You are making it clear that you aren't rejecting them. You are just managing a specific budget goal. You don't have to become the weird office hermit just because you're trying to stop buying overpriced salads. Most reasonable colleagues will completely respect a stated financial or health goal. In fact, they will probably heavily relate to it and wish they were doing it themselves.
They almost always do. Often you'll find that one or two other people will quietly admit they also want to stop spending so much money. And suddenly, you've created a new microculture in the office of eating together in the break room. It transforms a potential moment of isolation into a moment of genuine connection while keeping your rhythm perfectly intact.
So we have covered an immense amount of ground today. We have thoroughly dismantled the sad desk lunch. We have built the biological visual lunch grid. We have optimized the hardware of the mason jar to defeat osmosis. We have mastered the physics of the thermos, and we have established realistic 5-minute emergency bailouts for when life gets chaotic.
A lot of tools.
It is. So how do we take all of this dense logic and actually start applying it today without feeling totally overwhelmed by trying to change everything at once?
The full story suggests a very gentle, very focused application to begin with. It is called the Saturday setup, that you can genuinely start it on any day of the week. The absolute worst thing you can do is try to overhaul your entire life overnight. You will fail.
So start small.
Instead, you create a simple 21-day streak tracker. You don't need to download a special, complex habit tracking app. Just grab a physical notebook or open the basic notes app on your phone. Every single day that you successfully bring your lunch to work, whether you batched it beautifully on Sunday or you frantically sprinted to the grocery store for a salad kit on Tuesday morning, you put a large, satisfying X on that day.
Just a simple visual confirmation of the habit. You're just tracking the action, not the perfection of the meal.
Exactly. Your initial goal is not absolute perfection for a month. Your goal is simply to string together a 5-day streak,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. Don't beat yourself up if you miss a Wednesday because there was a mandatory catered meeting. Just look for 5 days in a row.
That feels very doable.
If you manage to hit 15 days total in a single month, you take a portion of that massive amount of money you just saved, that's $75 or $100, and you explicitly use it to treat yourself to something fun. And crucially, it should not be a food-related reward.
Right. We aren't rewarding good behavior with a giant pizza. What kind of reward?
Buy a hardcover book you have been wanting to read. Get premium tickets to a movie. Or use it to upgrade a piece of gear in your speed arsenal. Finally, buy that really high-quality vacuum-insulated thermos, or buy a beautiful set of glass bento boxes. You are using the money saved from the habit to continually reinforce the habit.
That positive reinforcement is so key. You are literally paying yourself to build a better rhythm. And as we wrap up this conversation, I think the most powerful takeaway here is the realization that lunch is never, ever just a sandwich. It is what we might call a keystone habit. It is the hinge upon which the rest of your day swings. Mastering this one seemingly mundane midday moment sends massive positive ripples outward through the entire rest of your life.
It is the ultimate compound effect. Everything is connected. When you stabilize your midday nutrition with the proper balance of fiber, protein, and fat, you stabilize your afternoon focus, which directly enhances your professional performance and reduces your stress.
Because you aren't crashing at 3:00 p.m.
Exactly. You actually protect your evening energy. That means when you walk through your front door at 6:00 p.m., you have patience and presence for your family instead of being irritable and exhausted. By prioritizing nutrient-dense whole foods, you are quietly fortifying your long-term immune system and protecting your gut health. And by confidently stepping out of the takeout line, you are silently building thousands upon thousands of dollars in wealth over the years. All of this simply from intentionally reclaiming 15 minutes of your day.
It is a profound shift in perspective. It changes everything about how you approach your workday. If you want to dive deeper into these ideas, the full guide is available on Amazon. You can find the link in our bio. It's a perfect deep dive for a quiet afternoon. Thanks for listening to FM Talks.